everybody, welcome to another episode of the Inspirational Post by Sola. My name is Sola, and for those of you that are new on here, this is a vlog where we review Christian books and inspirational books, and we always do it through the lens of the Bible. We're still on Atomic Habits, and I'm happy to announce that we're very, very close to the end. It's been a long time that we've been on this book. It's been a long time coming for us to get to the end. But today we're now on chapter 16, titled How to Stick with Good Habits Every Day. So I'll be discussing 6 key lessons that I've learned from this chapter. And as I said, and as I always do, I will be giving some biblical references to some of those points that I've learned from this amazing book. So here we go. The first thing I learned is the paperclip strategy. And I absolutely love this. I think it's very practical. As a believer, I think that, practicality of things that we learn is very important. You can't just go to church and soak all those things in. How do you make it practical for your life, for your day-to-day life? So he starts the book talking about the paperclip strategy, and it tells a story about a young boy in a small town. He was overlooked because of his age. Instead of complaining or making excuses, he put a strategy in place to succeed. Every morning, he started with 120 paper clips in one jar, and then he had an empty jar as well. So he had 2 jars. One jar was 120 paper clips and another empty jar. For every successful call that he made, he will put one paper clip. He will move a paper clip from the 120 into the empty jar. And I think what they were trying to say in the book was that visual representation of his success, and by success we mean just the fact that he picked up the phone to make a sales call, that was good enough. He was able to visualize his effort. He was able to visualize the daily effort that he was putting into his career. And in the book it says that at the age of 24, he was extremely successful. At the age of 24, earning $75,000 a year. And then shortly after that, he started to earn 6 figures. And it seems as though what they were trying to say in the book was visualizing that effort was the motivation he needed to keep going. He goes on to talk about another lady who also adopted that strategy. But then she put paper clips in one jar, and obviously she had the empty jar. For every book that she wrote, for every page that she wrote in her book, she would move a hair clip into the empty jar. And I think we had spoken about this in the last episode where we talked about how, if you're struggling with always ordering out, it could be a situation where for every time that you resist the urge to order out, you will put the money, the equivalent of how much you were going to spend, you can put that equivalent in a jar. So you can actually do that. I think the idea is make whatever progress visible to sort of motivate yourself. I'm going to give a faith-based version of the paperclip strategy because, as I said, everything is through the lens of the Bible. Let's try this as believers. We're coming up to February. February is what? In the next couple of days? How about I challenge you guys to buy 2 jars. One jar has maybe, let's just say 120 paper clips. And obviously we have the empty jar. For every chapter of the Bible that you read, and I'm not going to say, read 1 chapter a day. You can read 1, you can read 2, you can read 3. For every chapter that you read, in the month of February, move a paper clip to the empty jar. And I'm going to do that myself. And, I'm going to remember to present that by the end of February. I need to remember to buy the jars. Let's see how many chapters you can read in the month of February. If you guys can engage with me on this one, that would be great. So every day, or anytime you feel like reading a chapter, read it and put a paper clip in the jar. At the end of the month, let's see how far you've come. And he's saying that this is habit tracking. You're tracking your progress. You're tracking your reps. We're spoken about getting your reps in. And what he was saying in the book is that sometimes all we need is just to shed light on what we're already doing. Like, I already read my Bible, but if you ask me how many chapters I read in a week or how many chapters I read in a day, I can't categorically tell you because I just read it. And sometimes, if we don't see this progress and this effort that we're putting in, we may not realize how consistent that we've been, and we may not realize how inconsistent we've been. So what he's saying in the book is that tracking gives a realistic view of ourselves, not an inflated one. There's no estimations, there's no assumptions. Facts. It's factual. It's based on facts. The number of paper clips you have in the jar is the amount of chapters is the number of chapters you've read of the Bible in a month. And when I was thinking about this, in the book, he said something about, sometimes if we don't track our habits, we can have like an inflated view of our efforts. And he says, when I was reading that, I was reminded of Romans 12, verse 3. For I say through the grace given to me to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith. But what I want to pull out from this verse is the encouragement of not to think of ourselves too highly. And it's the same thing James is saying here. Don't have an overestimated notion of your effort. It's important for you to humble yourself, track your habit, and actually know how well you're doing. So I want to encourage us, don't think too highly of yourself. Track your habits and make sure that they stick. Feel good about yourself and all the effort you're putting in. It's not easy to be consistent with something. So point number 2, don't break the chain. I must say that I really, really like this chapter. Do you know why? Because it has a lot of practical points and a lot of things that even I'm thinking about. I'm going to see how I can incorporate this in my life. So don't break the chain. It starts by talking about a guy called Jerry Seinfeld, who had a mantra, don't break the chain. And his goal really was to write a joke every day. He didn't care whether the joke was funny or whether the joke was dry. He had one goal: write a joke a day. And what he was trying to emphasize was the act of showing up. We're not trying to be perfect. Perfection comes with consistency. Just show up. And many people, in recent times where the world is very fast and the world is very, the attention span of a lot of people these days is quite limited. A lot of people get demotivated, for example, people like me that post on social media. You get low engagement, you get, 2 likes after you've recorded a 1-hour video. You get no comments. It's easy to get demotivated, and after a few posts you break the chain. And I must say that it's happened to me. When I first started this podcast, I was very new to creating. I was very new to recording podcasts. I was very new to editing, and it used to take me a long time to actually edit my videos. And you post it and you don't get what you think is the right amount of engagement. At the end of the day, as long as one person is motivated, as long as one person is impacted, that should be good enough. But the human and the flesh part of us sometimes get a bit demotivated, and I've been there. And I was praying to God one day, and he said to me, it's not about that. It's not about likes. It's not about shares. It's not about reposts. It's about showing up and talking about Jesus every day and every opportunity that you get. Even if it's one person that is going to listen to you, that's good enough. And I've not stopped. Once I heard God say that to me, I haven't stopped. I don't care if it's 5 views. I'm going to keep going. Because I feel like, with the society now, the devil has a lot of tools that he can use to sort of stifle people's obedience. God has told you to do something, but then you're not getting the result that you think is the result. And then you stop. That's the enemy's plan, to stifle your progress. Especially if you've heard directly from God. There's no reason why likes should be stopping you, or your friends not reposting your video. There's no reason why that should be stopping your progress. External validation shouldn't allow you break the chain. Only obedience to God is what's important. Now, even when I'm tired, for example, now what's the time? It's about 10 p.m. and I'm recording this video so I can put it out tomorrow. Even if I'm tired, even if engagement is low, I will not be breaking the chain. So I want you to say to yourself today as you watch this, whatever it is that you're doing, you will not break the chain, because you have the strength that's given to you by God. Don't be defined by social media, guys. I've come to a place where I'm only defined by the mandate that God has placed on my heart, not by likes and not by people. When I was reading this as well, the verse that came to my mind was Proverbs 10 verse 4. The diligent hands bring wealth. And believe it or not, I went and Googled the Oxford, definition of diligence, and diligence basically means careful and persistent work or effort. Emphasis on persistent. Emphasis on persistent. If you're persistent, you won't break the chain. There's no extra requirements, just persistence. Be persistent with that health goal, be persistent with that business idea. Stick to the plan. Point number 3, he talks about the 3 laws of habit tracking, which is obvious, making a habit obvious, making a habit attractive, and then making the habit satisfying. So let's talk about making a habit obvious. What he's saying is that people who track their habits, what they're essentially doing is making it obvious. So for example, apps like MyFitnessPal shows you the truth. It shows you the calories that you're eating. It shows you the macros. It shows you if you're working out. It shows you, your workout versus, your calorie deficit or surpluses, whatever it is that you're eating. It makes it obvious, and you know that you can sort of like do better the next day. Because the human mind's like, I only had fries today. That should be enough. At least it's 1 meal a day. But the fries could contain like a lot of fat, and that could, impact your macros if you already have like macros logged into your MyFitnessPal. So documentation actually brings that honesty, and it makes things a bit obvious when you track your habits. And habit tracking as well in terms of making it attractive. So for example, you have a workout plan, and you go one day, the next day you're like, I can't be asked. So the first day you've ticked it, second day empty, third day I can't be asked, empty, fourth day can't be asked, empty. When you look at that board, you should feel motivated to go, because the last time you went was 5 days ago. It shows you that you're slacking, and you're more inclined, should I say, to want to go to the gym. And also, because I know this one works for me, when you see your progress, you're like, man, I don't want to break the chain. I'm gonna go. I'll wait for my rest day. So progress, seen or unseen, actually drives our behavior, whether or not we like it. It's the truth. As human beings, we're very visual, guys. We're quite visual. And then also making habit tracking can be also satisfying. So I'm on this worship for 30 days, and get used to posting worship for 30 days on social media, and I'm currently on day 14. And before I started, I had a list of worship songs that I would like to, minister to the people. And every day I post, I go on my little write-up and I highlight it. And I must say, it gets more and more satisfying knowing that, this thing that was laid on my heart, I'm getting to the finish line. And when I initially started with just the one highlighter on day number 1, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do this for 29 days. But the more I cross the days out, the better I feel, the more satisfying it is. And just to say that my worship is accepted, whether or not I post it, whether or not I track it, whether or not I write it down. But tracking has helped me show up for myself. Because there's one thing God asking you to do something, and there's another thing you obeying, because we're tired. So I must say that tracking has helped me. Just highlighting or crossing things has actually helped me to actually show up for myself. So one very important point that I really like, point number 4, when you slip, never miss twice. And I feel like this is one of the most powerful principles in this book so far. Never miss twice. The first mistake isn't what ruins us, isn't what defines us. It's the spiral that follows that's the problem. If you miss one day, you miss the second day, you miss the third day, now we're having a problem. Some people miss a day of workout. It's from that day of workout that they never go back. Facts. You miss a day in the week, and then you just don't show up for the rest of the week. And then it goes into a month, and then it goes into a year. And when I was reading this, I was reminded of Proverbs 24 verse 16. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. So the falling is not the problem. It's the picking yourself up and not letting that situation define you. That is what is important. Just looking at the life of a believer, and if I may say so, I think we've all been here, this thing I'm about to say. Believers sin once, and then they start to condemn themselves, and then they start to feel shame, and they start to internalize the identity that is not theirs. You make a mistake once. That is not who you are. That is not who you are. That is not who you are. The sin is the sin. You are who you are. They let shame define them. They let the devil whisper, you're not good enough. Oh, this is who you are. You're a cheat. You're a fornicator. You're all these things that you're not. You're a liar because you told one lie. You can fix up and stop being, don't lie. You're not a liar. You've told a lie. So, and the devil likes those kind of things. He likes just that little gateway, that open door, you know. Oh, she's done this now. Let me in her ear until she continues to fall and make a habit out of it. Another scripture that came to my mind was Psalm 37, 23 to 24. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. As I said, falling is not the problem. You're not going to be utterly cast down. It means that you are inside that thing. You're not going to let sin do that to you. Because you have a God that upholds you with his hand. You cannot continue, you can't be cast down by sin. Sin is not final. Sin is not who you are. Your mistakes are not who you are, guys. Missing once is human. But missing twice is like you want to start a habit. And I was also reminded of Romans 6, 1 to 2 as well, as I was reading this. As I said, with this particular point, I was a lot of scriptures were just like coming to my mind as I was reading it. So Romans 6, 1 to 2. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? Dear friends, sinning is not the problem. It's sitting in it that is the problem. So don't feel that shame that you feel when you've stepped out of your alignment with where it is that you're trying to be. And also, can I just say that grace is not a permission to sin. Grace has freed us from sin, not to sin. Mistakes happen, temptations happen, guys, but please let's not stay there. It's the moral of the story. Point number 5. Avoid the all or nothing trap. I feel like all the points I pulled out from this book, I absolutely love them. Because I feel like they're things. So the all or nothing trap. It says that we need to get out of the all or nothing trap. Just show up. If we aim for perfection, that might be a problem. And I think in one of the episodes we talked about how the best is the enemy of the good. Let's put our believers' hat back on. Not that we ever took it off, but you know what I mean. Some believers leave church because of church hurts. You leave church because the individuals who are also trying to figure out their salvation have hurt you. I mean, you can leave church and go to another church, but what happens is that people leave church and also in turn lose their intimacy with God because they feel like the people that have hurt them in church equate to God. They are not God. Your intimacy with God is essential whether or not you go to church. That's how I live my life. So if people in church hurt you, that way you can fall back to what you already have, which is your intimacy with God. So people say, oh, if I cannot go to church, then that's it. You know, that is the all or nothing mindset that we shouldn't get into. You can meet God at home. You can meet God in your car. You can meet God at the gym. Whatever quiet time, you can meet God. Even when I'm at the gym sometimes, one day I was like, so I'll calm down. I was on a treadmill and I had my headphones on and I was literally just like speaking in tongues. And I saw people were looking at me. I didn't know why they were looking at me because I was carried away. And then I was like, oh my God, this is loud. I'm just so used to talking to him on the regs. I live alone, so I'm actually just used to just like speaking to him on the regs. So regardless of what, you know, people in the church do to you, don't abandon your relationship with God because people have failed you. Don't abandon your relationship with God because life has happened. Life is always going to happen. I think there's a part in the Bible that says that count it all, you know, joy when you go through tribulations because it is all for your glory or something like that. If I find it, I'll attach it to the podcast. Don't abandon God because of life. Showing up, especially when you don't feel it, shapes who you eventually become. So guys, remove that all or nothing mindset. You know, if you plan to go to the gym for 1 hour and you only have 30 minutes, some people say, I only have 30 minutes, I'm not going. Go for 30 minutes and then tomorrow go for an hour or go for an hour and a half. All or nothing mindset is I'm not going to go at all when you still have 30 minutes to spare. So I really like that point. Point number 6, measure what actually matters. When I was reading this, I was laughing to myself. Not every metric is a good one. The example it gives in the book is a restaurant shouldn't only measure revenue, you know, by, you know, people are paying and then, you know, they're paying for the service. There are other things that they can actually use to measure the success of the business. Things like tip. You know, how well are people tipping? Because if you're tipping well, it means that you enjoy the service. So we can say that the service was good. How many customers have cleared their plates? That could be a metric. How many customers have left reviews? Heck, that could be a metric. So it's not just good enough to say, oh, you know, money is coming in and that's the measure of success for your business. No. When I was reading this, I was thinking about the Bible. You know, at the top we said about, you know, February challenge, let's read our Bible, put 120 clips, put a clipping for every, you know, chapter that you read. It's not just the tick box exercise of I've read a Bible and that's that. The metrics, the measure for reading the Bible, reading that chapter, should not just be the paper clips in the jar. That's just another chapter that you've read. That's not good enough. That's a tick box exercise. But before moving that paperclip, challenge yourself. Who wrote the book? What is the cultural context of the book? Who was it for? What is God saying to me? What are the things that I can apply to my life? What are the practical things that I can apply to my life? Don't just measure that exercise by putting the clip in a jar. What he's saying in the book is when we choose the wrong measure, we optimize wrong behavior. So guys, those are the 6 things that I've learned from this chapter. But I am going to do the challenge, and I'm going to present it at the end of February. And I want to challenge us to do the same as well. And, this goes for the people that, are struggling to read the Bible, goes for the people that are good at reading their Bible. Let's just see how well we do, because I cannot tell you how often I read my Bible. I try to read my Bible every day, but I don't just read one chapter. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this is fun. And I read 2 more or 3 more. And sometimes I even do like little slides and I share my devotion with the world. But it would be nice to know how many chapters I actually read in a month. So I'm going to do that. So just before I go, I'm going to read us the chapter summary found on page 204. Number 1. One of the most satisfying feelings is the feeling of making progress. Number 2, a habit tracker is a simple way to measure whether you did a habit, like marking an X on a calendar. Number 3, habit trackers and other visual forms of measurement can make your habits satisfying by providing clear evidence of your progress. Number 4, don't break the chain. Try to keep your habit streak alive. Number 5, never miss twice. If you miss one day, try to get back on track as quickly as possible. Number 6, just because you can measure something doesn't mean it's the most important thing to measure. Very good chapter, honestly, very good chapter. Just before I go, my favorite scripture that I linked to this chapter can be found in Proverbs 24:16. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Do you remember the song? We fall down, but we get up. For a saint is just a sinner who fell down. Yeah. So friends, show up, be persistent, don't break the chain. As I said, I'd like to hear from you guys on what you'd be adopting and if you'd be adopting the jar technique, the paperclip strategy. And that's it for me. Till we speak again next time, we'll be talking about chapter 17. Don't forget guys, show up, be persistent, and don't break the chain. Speak to you next time.